And
Welding
you want me
is
to tell you,
just
you want me to
simply...
say, are you rolling again?
Yeah.
Just tell me what you're doing.
Sure. Roll. Is it something like the arc created by the electricity is like really hot? Is that basically at the point it's really
something
hot?
that gets caught in an outlet, or when something just sparks, it melts it away.
Melts it. Yeah.
So different machines I have.
I guess it's different temperatures.
Well, it's got to be hot enough to weld it. But just to give you an idea, this gun or this torch here, when I push this button, wire comes out. When this wire hits the metal, because of the amount of amps and the gas that come through it, as soon as this touches the metal, it melts and welds. That's the weld. The weld is the melt, basically. So to fill this here, I could just basically shoot this, and as the wire comes out, it's laying and melting into that space.
It's almost like a tube of toothpaste.
Well, or a caulking gun.
Caulking gun, right? Yeah.
But anyway, so this is a different
quickly.
thing. This is a TIG welder, and what happens here is the arc comes off of this little tungsten rod,
and you're adding the rod separately.
Right. So
you have to have a
this
third
is much
arm.
more precise. So as this, I'm directing this to this piece of metal, this piece of metal.
Right.
They're wet, hence they call a puddle. When I get that puddle going, I'll
That's
then this in and go like this.
I've seen people doing that. Yeah.
The story I was going to tell you about this is, as I was making this, if it's a very small seam that I'm looking to fill, like this over here,
Right.
the thickness of the rod is relative to what I want to use to fill this.
Oh, so that you choose
So
how wide the rod is.
Right. Well, there's a couple different sizes, but once in a while, if in other words, to weld something fat like this, and other places might have been this big seam. This is a little bit too thin. So a little trick of the trade is, I might take these little scrappy shards that I'm cutting to fit it. So the same technique, I could then let the bronze, this is bronze, I could make this drip like wax off a candle, and that'll fill this. But you see, this is relative to this thickness here.
Right.
Anyway, so one day, last week, I was doing this. Just cut for 1 second.
Yeah. Do I follow you?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, about like a week or two ago, I was taking a little scrap and doing it. And for whatever reason, my coordination or the heat was off for a split second. So instead of having this melted to accept the drip that's coming off of this to fill that, a blob of the molten bronze dropped and fell. I was working, and I don't know, the phone rang, I took a break, and a little while later, I looked on the floor, and I found like this little piece of the bronze. This is what was on the floor.
I can see why you have magical moments. Oh,
Isn't that like a wild? I mean, so...
you could take that, and that's a symbol of freedom, peace.
It's angelic. It's
It
spiritual.
is, and you could just make it 10 feet
I think
tall.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Beautiful.
I think I'm going to build
Oh my God.
a large version of this and bring it to life. You know.
Oh, what a fabulous story.
Is that wild?
Yeah, I'm not telling anybody this. That is just, people should see it and then hear the story. They
Anyway,
should not anticipate the story.
You know, so I had a conversation with a guy last week, and he does readings, you know, and it was a friend of a friend, and said, hey, you know, come on, I'll tell you what's going on. So he basically said that you create something sometimes from the mind, sometimes from a different place.
Right.
Sometimes you can tell if something's just been whipped together, or you've amassed something that you don't know where it came from.
Right.
Sometimes I go through these things where I look at it when it's done, or 5 years later, that's wild. How did I do that?
Yeah.
But anyway, so he looked at that. He said, that's what I'm talking about. You have this coming through you from a different place. Now, maybe a jeweler or a person that does miniature sculptures, maybe they could have made that, but this was I don't even want to say by accident, but it was just out of the moment of doing this.